Hi there. I keep being asked to either appear on a YouTube conference show or simply to be part of a Zoom chat. I presume to talk about or to perhaps answer the question, what is spirituality? I'm assuming that. I mean, it could be just to talk about the weather, but I think it's, judging from the people that ask me, I think it's something to do with what is spirituality and what we're going to do about it, kind of thing. Um, and I suppose the glib answer, the answer that the cynic is going to present, is that spirituality is just whatever the consensus opinion of what is spirituality is. And what I mean by that is you get three people in a room, or more than three people in a room, and they ask the question, what is spirituality? And together they come up with a picture of the answer of what is spirituality. It's like that, with kids, we used to play that game, where you get a piece of paper and you fold it, get a piece of A4 paper and you fold it horizontally into however many sections there are, depending on how many people there are. And each person has to draw a figure. You draw a human being, or a robot or a monster or something, and you pass the paper around, and in such a way that the person drawing their section can't see what has come before. And then you open up the whole piece of paper and you'll have a good laugh as to the sort of composited figure that's been drawn by the group of people. And so it is answering these questions like, what is beauty, what is justice, what is spirituality, what is God, or who is God. You come up with just basically an answer that corresponds to the life situation and the experience and the history and the psychology of the people gathered there. But it doesn't actually answer the question itself in absolute terms. It's just relative to who's asking the question and who's answering it. And so that's kind of a cynical answer to what is spirituality. It just depends who you're talking to, basically. And then but if you really had to tie my kangaroo down and ask me, I would say that there's two basic answers come up here, which I've outlined at the top here. And the one is, connected with my videos on the here and now, and on a quasi Buddhism, I would suppose, in that it's the cultivation of certain mental states that contribute or are conducive to psychological or mental well-being. So you go into the here and now, and you feel good. It's good to relax. You relax in the goodness of relaxation, which sounds like a tautology, which it is. And you contemplate certain cosmologies and contemplate certain questions like, what is soul, what is God, is there a soul, is there life after death, whatever. And you contemplate the answers that are given by various spiritual pundits, and you feel good inside. You sort of get a warm, sniggly, warm, cuddly feeling. You sort of cuddle down with the contemplation, with the spiritual answers of gurus and popes and whatever, and you feel good about yourself as a result of contemplating the answers to the question, what is spirituality, of which there are many. And so basically, you're not really concerned about what is truth. You're just concerned about becoming feeling good about yourself and feeling good about your fellow man and feeling good about the environment and about your place in it. Um, and certainly, extremely powerful. So you have, various things for doing that, like contemplation, meditation, ritual, mantra, music, sacred music, everything like that, really. And as a sort of subcategory of this, you have what is called the voluntary loss of all sense of self. So basically, you have the universe, which is the un-I-verse. If you enter the universe or attain the universe, you do so by sloughing off all sense of I, all sense of self-identity or self-importance or self self-obsession even, and you through various means such as ritual or drugs or anything like that, or sex or again mantram or prayer. You all sense of self is lost. That's the important thing to bear in mind. And you sort of have an experience of oneness with the universe, which is the un-I verse. So the I is what keeps you separate from the universe, and so losing the I, going into an un-I state of mind, you attain a sense of oneness, which again would be conducive to psychological well-being. So that's a subcategory of the cultivating the mental states that are conducive to psychological balance. So it's a very practical. Spirituality has a very practical application. In fact, a psychological application. It's good to relax and relax into the good of relaxation. To quote that tautology again. Now, some people called hermeticists, they believe that by relaxing, by losing sense of self, by going into various altered states of consciousness, you can arrive at the second major definition of what is spirituality, which is what I've called here the spontaneous experience of something so extraordinary that it gives rise to the conviction that there exists a reality beyond this one. And I may illustrate this. You're walking along a city road and you turn the corner and there is a park that you didn't know was there, and you go, "Wow, that's a beautiful park. I didn't know was there. I'd never seen it before, or I didn't know it was on." Didn't know it was just round the corner from me, and you sort of go, "Ha ha," and have a sort of prize and exclamation mark what comes up as a sort of balloon around your head, and you have this sort of, "Wow, goodness me," and this experience, leads you to conviction of a reality beyond this one. But when people say to you, "Oh, what does that mean?" You don't know really what it does mean. But it means that there is something beyond what we are normally sensible of, beyond our normal senses, our normal experience of life. Because this experience that you had, this extraordinary experience, in many ways felt very ordinary. It felt very sensuous, sensory, I might say. And yet the experience points to something which totally transcends, I suppose, transcends your sense of self. So we're back to the former category of losing becoming one with the un-I verse. And so, but of course, the word here is spontaneous. And I don't think, can you control it? Can you invoke it? Can you make it happen as a result of the cultivation of various mental states? Hermeticists claim that you can. I would say that the key word here is spontaneous. You're walking along the road and you look down and you see a compass and a map, and you see that the map has a route marked in red on it. An X marks the spot on the map. And so the question arises, well, what do you do with this? What do you do with this map? And here I came to, we'll go to the last definition in a minute. Some people might look around themselves and think, where's the camera? There was a TV show on British TV called Candid Camera, And they used to sort of like have a box in the middle of the road, and people would go up to this box and investigate it, and there'd be a hidden camera, sort of, for giggles, to see how people react to this extraordinary thing that's appeared in their world. You don't see an empty box in the middle of the road every day. So the question arises, what do people do about it? Some people ignored it, some people investigated it, some people kicked it, some people picked it up and took it away. There's all sorts of different responses, and these are all recorded on candid camera. Anyway, so you look around you and think, where's the hidden camera for this compass and map that I found on the road? Other people would just say it's a silly hoax, and they'd pick up the compass and pocket it, and scrumple up the map and throw the map in the bin. Other people will probably take the compass and the map and sell it on eBay. That's what I would do, being rather hard up for cash. And very, very few people would actually say, well, I'm going to follow the route on the map, and I'm going to use the compass to find my way. But here's a spoiler alert. You do all this and you find your way, and you get to the X marks the spot on the map, and there's actually nothing there. Either an empty street or an empty park, or an empty glade in the forest, and there's nothing there to find. And you sit down and you think, what, WTF? I've been hoodwinked. I've been taken for a fool. And then you have an aha moment, and you realise that in fact the journey is the destination, and the destination is the journey. And that makes you have a sort of feeling of well-being wells up in you. And you think, yes, the destination is the journey is the destination. You kind of have a transcendental moment when you realise that two things that you thought were opposite, vis-a-vis the destination and the journey, are in fact one. So, again, this takes us back to the original definition of spirituality. It's the cultivation of a certain mental states that are conducive to mental well-being. And so you're sitting in your empty glade, having not found the Holy Grail, which the map told you would find, and realizing that the Holy Grail is in fact the quest for the Holy Grail and not the actual Holy Grail itself. And everybody will say amen to that, or certain people will say that anyway. But again, what is spirituality? Perhaps the answer is it's the question. What is spirituality? The question itself, rather than any answer that we may come up with as a group or as an individual. And that may kind of, you may say, well, what does that all mean? But then you may be over-analyzing. And in fact, simply the answer to the question is the question itself. It's not so stupid an answer. In fact, it's probably a very wise answer, especially when you're faced with what is spirituality. I don't know if spirituality is a means to an end, as hermeticists suggest. I don't like that definition, because again, what is the end? Is it the same as the means? And it suggests sort of, control. It suggests manipulation, exploitation even of a resource called spirituality, which enables you to get from A to B. And it always strikes me as being, well, maybe logical. Maybe that's what one would say it was, but is it entirely ethical to say that? And perhaps, trying to answer the question, what is spirituality, leads people into some very dark areas of the mind, and some very sort of sketchy things grow out, especially when groups of people come together and discuss the question, what is spirituality, and come up with an answer like, I tell you what, spirituality is in abusing children, or something like that, which is what one group of people came up with in Wales back in the 1970s. They got together and they asked the question, what is spirituality? And they all decided that they would become ritual pedophiles, and that was their answer. So, there's an ethical dimension to the answer, what is spirituality? And I guess you have to stay within ethical parameters, or do you? I don't know. Perhaps some people think you don't have to stay within any sort of ethical parameters. If you want to attain the universe, anything goes. Anything goes. To make you destroy all sense of self, you have to get rid of the I that is conditioned from childhood to distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad, up and down, black and white, etc. And so, therefore, you go into sort of a kind of an amorality, I suppose, where you simply recognize that the I has to be got rid of, and the I is the conditioned self, and the unconditioned self, where anything goes, is what connects you to the un-I-verse. Um, and so we go into sort of discussions of dark spirituality, so called. But really and honestly, it still begs the question: what is spirituality? It still seems to me whatever a group of people get together to decide what is spirituality. And as I said in the beginning of this video, well, they're governed by psychology, life situation, social situation, uh, kink, fetish, or whatever. And it could be just that the question, what is spirituality, becomes an ad hoc justification for behaving in any way you like, or in behaving in ways that you always wanted to behave in the first place. You simply wanted an excuse, basically, to behave in certain ways, and you wanted to call it spiritual in order to justify your crazy ideas and the crazy ideas of the group that you've kind of found yourself in. And of course, the people members of that group egg each other on. Of course, it becomes a sort of mass hysteria, even, or group hysteria. And there's many psychological experiments where people being put a group of people put in a darkened room, and one person there's a little point of light on the wall, and one person begins to say, I can see the point of light moving around, and everybody in the group reports the same thing, because they want to comply with what they think is the right answer provided by the person. And of course, if that person has charisma, then you want to believe that they are supplying you with the right answer, more than ever, more than anything. So it becomes really a question about relationships between people rather than answering the question, what is spirituality? So I probably, in terms of gnosis, in terms of Gnosticism, we go back to the spontaneous experience of the transcendental. Spontaneous, uncalled for, unprepared for, even. And very often people have this experience, change their lives. So you could say it's a life-changing experience as well. But again, doesn't mean to say that you have gone beyond your psychology or beyond your problems, or just simply trying to escape yourself. You have a build-up of psychological tension, which is released through a Gnostic experience, so-called, and that experience simply is you taking a holiday from yourself, or perhaps, in fact, losing all sense of propriety, and going into a kind of lifestyle which reflects the inner tension and unresolved psychological problems that you have. So again, we all return to the psychological definition of spirituality, which is this: it's good to relax into the good of relaxation. And we don't really get too much beyond that definition, to be perfectly honest. So when people say to me, I want to discuss the question, what is spirituality, with you on Zoom or Skype, or in some sort of chat room, I kind of clam up. I don't know what to say. I go into silence. I have no idea what I'm supposed to say, And it ends up that the group of people just don't say anything at all, which is a kind of which Society of Friends have developed into a ritual, in fact, where you just sit in a circle and you don't say anything unless some kind of unless you're moved to say something, and then but people don't argue with you or question what you say. They just just listen to what you have to say and then go back to their silence again. I mean, unless this group Skype Zoom meeting is going to be held in total silence, I really don't know what to say about it. I don't know what to say. And if it's just singing "Kumbaya" around the campfire, well, I could go join a Wiccan group and do that. Do you know what I mean? I and I'd like to actually sit around a real campfire with real people, and sing. We all come from the goddess or whatever, because and that might be an answer to the question, what is spirituality, which I might be quite happy with at the time. But in these COVID days, getting together with people around a real campfire, and singing, real singing, and being with other people is like really is a tall order at the moment, and makes you wonder about that, whether there is some conspiracy to make us all be separate from each other, and have to go on Skype or Zoom in order to discuss spiritual questions, which basically I almost don't want to discuss because I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, and if it's true that the question, what is spirituality, is in fact the answer to the question, then there's even less motivation to say anything at all. So I don't really know, what's expected of me with such a what would the meeting achieve exactly? Light another cigarette, learn to forget. We could start a new religion. Um, I mean, there's a thing in Jim Morrison, American Prayer, where this guy manipulates these two girls into a hotel, and one of them starts to have a period, and he says, "What are we going to do now? Shall we start a new religion?" you know, you know what I'm saying. So I don't know, to tell you the truth. And perhaps if you know the answer, you might advise me in the comments below.